Hello and welcome to the Leave, Laugh, Love podcast. We're your hosts, Evelyn and Veronica, and today we are joined by a wonderful guest, Cherie. You may have seen her content as the Canceled Christian, and I love what you share. I'm so excited to get to chat with you a little bit today. And before we dive into that a little bit too deep, welcome to Small Group. What's your rose and thorn of your week?
Man, I just had like nostalgia of Rose and Thorn in my Bible studies.
Yes.
But yes, definitely. I would say my rose this week was yesterday. Me and my husband did our annual like fall day where we go to this cute little town and like get loose leaf pumpkin tea and like read books and stuff. So that was super fun. My thorn is my job is like the busiest it ever is last week and this next coming week. So I've been like swamped with that, but hopefully just one more week and then we'll be in the clear.
That sounds lovely.
And it's nice to be at the end of the crash or the cramming of the busyness, at least. We're kind of right there right now, too.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home and sleep for 3 days. Yeah. Veronica, what's your rose and thorn?
I think my rose is we had Thai for lunch.
Oh, it was so good.
And they made my green curry without eggplant because I'm 90% sure I'm allergic to eggplant. And so I was really happy that I still got to eat green curry and they just didn't put any eggplant in mine. And I've been working on the Not Today Satan cross stitch all weekend and I finally finished it. And
now it's joined the wall.
And
amazing.
So I'm just very happy about that. My thorn is I don't have one right now, actually. So
great.
Yeah.
Love it.
My thorn would have been like how exhausted I feel right now, except I'm like not as exhausted as I thought I would be.
Yeah, I think I would be feeling more tired now.
Yeah.
But I'm running some kind of adrenaline high right now.
That's another rose for me. But anyway, what about you, Ev?
I would say my rose was also lunch. That was delicious. I got fried chicken, or not fried chicken, fried rice, fried chicken, the most Thai of Thai foods. And yeah, that was wonderful. And yeah, I don't know, but Veronica and I have exhausted all of our roses and thorns that we can have in 3 days. So the end. So yeah, wonderful. Okay, I'm so excited to be chatting with you because something like I was talking with another friend. He was saying like that he sees our content as being very aligned because what we kind of both do. And I mean, I just like love your content generally, but we do both kind of do this thing of like trying to sit back, like take a couple steps back and explain what these worlds look like from the inside. And obviously we're coming from like different lenses, but also kind of the same. Like it's weird how much of an overlap there is across religions. That's something I really realized at first when I went on. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Girls Camp.
I don't think so. I think I've heard of it, but I'm not.
It's an ex-Mormon one. So yeah. No, I mean, there's so many things out there. But when I was chatting with her, and there was like some like narratives I was saying about like the one true church and these things, and it's like, oh no, like Mormons grew up like being told the exact same thing. So there's like a lot of crossover in a lot of ways. But yeah, I love that we both just try to sit there and we're like, so now that we're not in a cult, we know that this sounds crazy, but let me try to explain to you what's going through people's brains when they are in one.
Can you give us like a little bit of your background?
Yes.
Cherie?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I relate to so much of what you said, Evelyn. So yeah, my name is Cherie. I grew up in high control religion, specifically evangelicalism and Presbyterian, which a lot of the evangelical deconstruction content is like Baptist. So it was a little bit different because we were Presbyterian. I grew up in a pretty large family. I was homeschooled my whole life. And then I went to a fundamentalist Baptist evangelical culty college. And then I ended up deconstructing in 2020 was the start of my deconstruction. And I was kind of fully deconstructed in 2023. And then I started my TikTok from there. So it's been a journey. I never thought I would be on this side of things, but it's been crazy. It's been great.
I think we kind of lined up on timelines because that would have been
a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit.
At what point in life, like, were you, I saw from your social media right before this that you did meet your husband at school in college. So like, but how long, like, were you married before you kind of started deconstructing and like left the church and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, so me and my husband, his name is Landon, we met when I was 17 at college freshman year, and then we got to know each other
Wow.
and started dating our sophomore year of college. And I think what kind of drew us both together is I had told him, even at that point, I was a little bit different than the other girls in my religion in that, like, I didn't want to get married because I had seen some toxic relationships in my family. And so I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get married because I don't believe in submission. And I thought that you had to practice submission to be married. So I was like, I'm just going to cut that out and then I won't be married. Problem solved. I even had said, like, I'll live with them forever. We just like won't be married. So then I won't have to submit. So
Yeah.
I, I met him and like pretty soon I was like, I don't want married. I don't want to get married and I don't want to have kids, which is the other thing that made me really different even at that point. And so when he was like, okay, I'll date you anyways, I think he was kind of attracted to that spirit and knew
Yeah.
like what it meant and stuff. And he wasn't fully in with his religion or upbringing either. And so we dated for about 3 years and then we got engaged senior year and we got married in September after we graduated. And so when we got married, we both had a lot of differences because he was raised Baptist. I say a lot of differences, but it was like over baptism and drinking
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff like that we had to really work through. So we got married and we were already used to like believing different things. And then I think I started deconstructing first. And I remember it was about like 2 years into our marriage and we had gone to our youth group together, not youth group, but like young adults group. And so we had gone to our young adults group together and the pastor was talking about how you can't say anything bad against the church. And I remember just being like, I don't really agree with that anymore because I had just seen the church do a lot of really terrible things and cover ups like in my past and background.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was in the car with my husband and I turned to him and I was like, I do think you can speak badly about the church when the church does bad stuff. And he was like very shocked and shaken because when you start saying that stuff, the people around you freak out because you're on that slope to hell and all of that. So yeah, he was like, Cherie, what? And then kind of as I would share more of my feelings about things, he was like, yeah, I see that. I see that. And he's a very, very empathetic, understanding person. And then 2020, we both were shocked with like the Christians' response to Trump and BLM and COVID of being super pro-life. And so I deconstructed a little bit first, but he probably deconstructed like 2 or 3 months after me. So we both were incredibly lucky. We always say like, because we got married very young, that we're the lucky exception, not the rule. And it's crazy that we stayed together. But yeah, I absolutely adore him and we love our life together. And I think it's super crazy that we ended up deconstructing all the way together.
Yeah. I'm so glad that worked out that way though, because I think it can be like a really painful thing that as far as like I've heard for a lot of people.
Yeah, if it's like one-sided.
Yeah, if it is one-sided or So
Yeah,
I think 20 oh sorry. No,
sorry. I was saying, yeah, and having, if it is one-sided, to kind of choose between to stay in your religion or to leave your partner. Yeah, that would just be terrible.
Yeah, and that's why like young marriage is kind of a like it's a beneficial thing to the church in the sense of like that it does kind of prevent questioning in that way. And then especially when children like if children come in to the picture like from a very young age.
I love how self-aware. Oh, sorry. Just like I love how self-aware you are too about like you lucked out and an exception to a general rule about marrying young because I think there's a lot of like still devoutly Christian people out there who say but it worked out totally fine for me. It's fine to get married young.
I'm like I'm so glad it did. I'm really happy for you. That doesn't make it really necessarily 100% the best choice.
But sorry, what were you?
I was just gonna say I think 2020 was kind of like the political pressure cooker that I think was kind of a thing for a lot of people with deconstruction. I think it the only reason it wasn't for me was. I mean, it definitely, there were things that were going on, obviously, just like all the things you were saying, like there were things that were going on that were like making me be like, that's weird. But I think the only reason it wasn't for me was kind of just like my stage in life. Like there was just, that was my senior year of high school going into my freshman year of college. And there's a lot of other like life transition going on there.
You were 17 when the pandemic started.
Yeah, I was 17 when the pandemic started. That is true. Which feels wild now because it's like, oh, we are actually... That happened a while ago. It does feel
you're a full adult.
I am a full grown human being. Okay, So that's great. I love the little like background intro there. I think that's helpful for anyone who's like not maybe necessarily like who listens to our podcast who's not necessarily familiar with your content, but
Talking
also
like me.
Also, Veronica.
I just showed up. It went on the schedule. I was like, okay, I can't wait to talk to someone new. And
yeah,
so yeah,
it was so funny because one of the people who was like kind of helping us like plan and structure was like, oh my gosh, you should reach out to her. Like, it kind of be a shot in the dark. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're literally mutuals of TikTok. Let me send her a DM. So I was, yeah. Anyway, I'm so glad to chat with you. I'd love to hear, I don't know, like, I'd love to hear like what the process of, we were kind of talking about this with a guest we had on this morning of like that there's this level of like you don't know what you don't know when you're starting to deconstruct, and like you can get in a lot of situations where a lot of people will think that you're ignorant for believing a certain way, or and it's like, yeah, like there's a lot of beliefs that we grew up in that are like legitimately harmful and like causing destruction and fascism. But then also at the same time, like a lot of people are in, I don't know, like it's just a complicated thing, and a lot of people are kind of like innocent largely of that. Like, it not only if you weren't raised with certain like values isn't the right word, but if you weren't raised with certain like concepts, but also without like the concepts of knowing how to think for yourself, like how to question things. It's like a huge thing to unravel, and I see that as like a big piece of what both of us do with our content is like kind of trying to humanize it and be like, hi, we're not going to be able to have dialogue around these issues that's in any way going to be productive other than us venting our own anger unless we're able to like see people who believe these things for the fact that they can still be like well-intentioned people basically, and we have to understand where they're coming from. I'm curious, like
when you start to realize I'm not loving this and there's something not right about this, how do you go about though like finding that information and like
what was your process there
now?
Okay. So long, so hard, so much to go through. I think kind of there's like so much of what started it. I think part is personality based. And I know for me and my family, I was the fourth kid of 5 kids. And I know my older sister was raised a lot more strict with a lot more not being able to talk back and stuff like that. So I think it's our personality. I was always a person who would like question. I was kind of labeled as the rebellious kid just because from a young age, my parents could tell that like I would question things and I would ask why. And we would see like a homeless person and not give them money because they should get a job, and I would be like, why? Whereas all of my other siblings were like, that's fine. And so I think part of it was my personality wise based. And then when it started, I think there was something that happened in my immediate family that was, and I don't really want to get into the specifics of it because it doesn't have to do with me, but it was like a traumatic thing happened to my immediate family where the church was at fault. And I saw that at like 12 years old, and I saw the church purposefully hiding up something that was illegal. And so that definitely rocked my world and started the deconstruction because I saw with my own eyes, like, this church says they love God, but they're literally hiding this thing. And so for me to see that at that age is probably what started it. And then as I got older, also having the decision to like not have kids was a big thing too, because I got immediate pushback for that, and like, to be a biblical woman, you need to have kids. And so I would like go read the Bible and pull out little verses and be like, no, I don't biblically. No, I don't. So I kind of would use the Bible to like make my beliefs, and they were a little bit different than other people. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I definitely experienced that too with like the fact that I had like a vegan era in like high school and college. And that's really liberal and that's not Christian. And I would be like, God says that in heaven, the lion and the lamb will lay down alongside one another. So I'm actually living the beatified vision. Please leave me alone.
I'm actually way better than all of you biblically. Just so you know.
I'm already living on the other side.
Yeah, definitely. So like kind of already getting used to reading the Bible a little bit differently. And And then going to my college was made me kind of look at my hateful, terrible beliefs in the eye. And my church pretended to be much more liberal and like much more accepting and much more normal. Although we were very fundamentalist. And then I went to this college where you had to wear skirts and you couldn't touch the opposite gender. And I was just met with the most evil people I've ever met in my life. And they were just hateful, wanted to cause harm. And I had to kind of reckon with, this is my belief played out if you go to the extent of what it is. And these are supposed to be the holiest, nicest people. And we're supposed to be the nicest people in the world. And like, I was told Christians are the nicest people, but I had never been around non-Christians in my entire life because I was homeschooled. I didn't have any friends from public school. I had no outside world. This was it. So then I went from that immediately to I got a job at Starbucks. And at Starbucks, for the first time, I was working with non-Christians. I was working with people of the LGBTQ community, all of that. And I thought I would be persecuted because that's what I was told would happen the whole time. And they were the nicest, most accepting people I'd ever met. And they would like invite me to go to places even after I had said that like I'm anti-LGBTQ, and they'd still like invite me out and like be my friend and stuff. And that just, you have to kind of reckon with that because something has to be a lie. Like either these people aren't nice and this is a hoax to get me to like turn gay, or like my church is wrong. And and then it coincided with the BLM. So like some resources that I started with was this, I can't remember this book. Oh shoot, it's by Natalie Hoffman, and she's like a Christian, but it was about how it's okay to divorce your husband if he's emotionally abusing you. And it's like a Christian book, but it was like the first time I had heard that, and I read that and I was like, I think that's okay too. And so then I started to listening to Christian podcasters like The Bare Marriage by Sheila Gregoire and things like that, of evangelicals, but that were like loving and kind and kind of still in my sphere. And then I listened to God is Gray, who's on on YouTube. And so those were my first channels. And then reading like Jesus and John Wayne and White Fragility and stuff like that kind of
definitely
more.
Jesus and John Wayne broke my brain a little bit about like the like systematization of like white evangelicalism in the US.
And I think we both read that pretty fully out of the church, and it still broke our brains.
Exactly.
Veronica and I. And we were just, oh, okay. It's just, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
You know what's funny? That I think about this, I think more now than I did when I was younger, but I remember being at church one time and the priest gave a homily, gave a sermon about, for some reason, and it was about adultery and how basically if your husband cheats on you with another woman, the church doesn't say you have to get divorced. It can be a heroic action to forgive. I know that seems like an impossible thing to move on from. And at the time, like, I was very taken aback by that, even as a kid who was very bought into the faith, but also kind of confused also of like, okay, like, I see what you're saying and that's beautiful about forgiveness, but also like, maybe that's just a lot of pain to ask somebody who's been really hurt to like have to navigate. But and I can't even imagine even like emotionally abusive situations are even harder to leave, because I think when there's physical danger involved, like most people see some amount of reason of like you should at least separate. But I even had actually professors.
I had professors who would say it's separation of bed and board. You don't actually divorce,
and you can't even call them your ex, even if you do have a legal divorce, because that degrades their dignity as a human being. He's not your ex. He is still your husband in the eyes. Anyway, whatever.
As a court.
So yeah, it is so like you're talking about sort of how you were growing up, like sort of having these like slightly progressive views compared to like how you were raised, I guess, and in the environment you were in, when they're very tame things that are still so controversial, like divorcing your husband because he's being emotionally abusive, like, or because he cheated on you, like.
In retrospect, now it seems crazy. I think that was definitely a thing for me and Veronica too, around I don't know. Wait, I talk about our deconstruction journeys as like a collective, because they kind of were like we were bouncing these ideas off of each other. It was like happening. We were dragging each other out of the church by just talking about things. But yeah, it was around certain things around. It was these writings of this one guy within the church, within the Catholic Church named Chris Damian,
Uh-huh.
who he actually has like more progressive views than the writings we were reading at the time now, but he's still Catholic.
Right.
But anyway, like at the time we were reading these things that he had written that were basically being like, well, like as a gay man, I should be celibate. But he was kind of pushing like the boundary of like but what if we just like kind of reimagine what this looks like? Like maybe I still can have a committed life partner
Right.
who I don't have a physical relationship with.
Mm.
And I was like, theologically, like that's kind of fine, right? Like
Yeah.
that's and like now in retrospect, it's like, okay, breadcrumbs.
Right.
Breadcrumbs. But we were like, wow.
It was like planting those seeds of like thinking outside of the box of like this very narrow like box that you're in sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious like what school you were at or like the background of the school, because you mentioned that you were Presbyterian background and your husband had a Baptist background. So like you both ended up though at the same college.
It was
like,
a Baptist school, you said, right?
Yes, yeah. I went to
okay.
Pensacola Christian College.
Oh, okay.
So they're independent fundamental Baptist. And the reason I
Okay.
went actually was because my oldest sister went to Clearwater College, which is where my parents met. And so
Okay.
I don't know what denomination that one is. It was more like non-denominational.
Yeah.
But then it was a lot more expensive. And PCC was like $7,000 a year with the fourth year free. So it was like very cheap. And
That's
We went
how
my
into
nice.
parents
so much debt. I went to so much debt for religious university. I love that for you.
Isn't
Yeah,
Pensacola
it's
like
like-
famously
it's why
the
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Wow.
It's why like a lot of people went there, especially homeschool
Yeah.
families, because they have a lot of
because
kids.
it was
And like
cheap. Wow.
yeah, and I'm very grateful that my parents wanted their daughters to have a college education, because like some evangelicals don't. So
Right.
Even that's
Thankfully-
controversial.
yeah, so my mom was like, no, you need to get a job just in case like your husband dies, you know. Not that you'll get
Pretty
divorced.
much.
but,
Yeah. Yeah.
for that. You should have it. So so they basically said like, we'll pay for you to go to PCC, or you could go to a different college, but you'll have to pay the difference. And so it was kind of like a choice, but every single one of us kids went to PCC because we had been
Yeah.
told like to be in debt is not biblical, and so it wasn't really an
Right.
option to go to any other college. And then I wasn't going to go to a secular school because like really bad things happen at a secular school and I would be persecuted, and like as a
Of
Christian I
course.
couldn't do that. So it was labeled like a choice, but it wasn't really a choice. So that's why we went to the Baptist one. And my parents also liked it because they thought we would be safe there, because like boys and girls are separate, and my parents had the same like purity rules for us of like no touching, no physical contact. So they kind of liked that. And some of the Baptist stuff, they didn't agree, but the Presbyterians and the Baptists agree on a majority of things. Like they're very, very close. It's just small, like Calvinism and Baptism are the two biggest ones, but like they're pretty close denominations.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I think.
definitely. I drive past Clearwater Christian College, I think, often.
Whoa.
Is it in Maryland?
No, in Florida, Clearwater.
When you
it's
when you used to be out
right
there.
on the bridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next to the airport. So whenever I go visit my relatives down there, because I was born in that area.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so I always passed it, and I was always so curious. Like I never knew like very much about it. I was like,
Small
there's just a
world.
random Christian college right here
Yeah.
down the street from where my dad grew up. But
Crazy.
yeah.
Small world.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think it's that's one of the things I think that's kind of unique about Catholicism is there's like no deference to like it's just like we have the structure, we have the system, like we're not doing that thing with those other people.
It's like weirder to go to a Christian non-Catholic school, I think, than to go to a
public
secular
school.
school.
Like
Exactly.
it would make more sense to go to a public
Yeah.
school than to go
I
to a
knew-
Christian school that's not Catholic.
I knew some
Yeah,
Catholics in high school who like we went to church with and stuff who went to like other private Christian schools, and like the conversations were always kind of awkward. It was like, oh, why is your son going there? Oh, and they have mandatory chapel on Sundays, and
That was a big piece of it.
with
I toured one school that was like a non-denominational school.
yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to Protestant church multiple times a week.
Yeah.
Because in Catholicism, like they pretty much just tell you not to go to any other services. It's not really valid. So yeah, that was yeah.
For us, it was pretty much like non-denominational people are okay, Baptists are okay, Presbyterians are okay, but like Lutherans are weird, Methodists are weird, and it was like Catholics are like blasphemous idolatry, like not Christian at all. And then Mormons are obviously like they're crazy too. So yeah,
that's one thing we can agree on.
We can agree on the Mormonism,
at least from our background. I'm not trying to
now
now
they all feel a little weird,
labeled Mormons crazy.
It's so fascinating. I'm curious, like what your journey was starting to talk about it on like social media. Like was it pretty fresh for you, or was it more of like a I'm curious about like that timeline or
so I think being in deconstruction like sucks because you never know where you're gonna land, and I just felt like I was in free fall forever, and I was like, what's the next thing I'm gonna unravel? Like, is this not true? Is this not true? Is this not true? And so when I started my TikTok, it was when I kind of felt like I had been settled for a little bit, because I was like, I don't want to talk about this before when I don't know anything. Because it's not helpful to anyone. And so it was kind of when I had settled a little bit. I also had just watched the documentary Shiny Happy People, which is about like the Duggars and stuff. And watching that, I realized like, oh, it was actually like kind of a cult of what I grew up in, because I wouldn't have called it that before. But when they talked about like the fathers being the head of the like small cults, that really resonated to me, and the term like high control religion and stuff. So after watching that, I was like, okay, so this was me, and more people need to know that this is them too. And like, also with the political stuff, how it is, I was like, people need to know about this. And me and Landon had deconstructed, so we started getting more friends who were like secular and worldly friends. And eventually when we would open up about our past, they were just so intrigued, and they'd want to talk to us for hours about like our college and our life and what we thought. And so I was like, oh, people like are interested in this. And then my mom got diagnosed with cancer, and so I had to go to part-time work so I could visit her a lot. And so I had a lot of time on my hands. So that was a big thing too, that I had time. So I ended up starting my TikTok because I had time with my part-time job, and I'd just seen documentaries. So that was the journey that led me here.
Yeah, Shiny Happy People was actually very influential for us.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, like, kind of the first unraveling thread of like the structure of the whole thing, kind of what you were saying around like we already had opinions about the beliefs, but the organized nature of it, and like the control nature of it, and the fact that it didn't really, I started to put pieces together that this didn't really like organically come about, especially around like what they talk about with like the IBLP network. And the life in the what is it called? What are the seminars that are like the IBLP?
The basic life principles.
Basic life principles. We've been going through so many documents of the things around the charismatic Catholic movement, which is where we both come from, that I wanted to say life in the spirit seminars, but I was like, no, those are the Catholic ones.
Right.
So yeah, anyway, I was like, this feels like that. But I still had I had no entry point to that. And then later we found out like basically a lot of information that started to unravel the fact that we were in a Catholic version of a very similar cult. So Shiny Happy People is a great documentary.
But especially when like, I don't know, people always talk about cults like Jonestown or whatever, you know, or like in a very like localized environment. I always felt like I wasn't that sheltered, all things considered, even though I was homeschooled and didn't have any friends who were Catholic, and it was like, oh well, in terms of degrees, this is a degree
more chill,
more sheltered, and more like high control than what I thought high control could mean. I thought there was like only like the extremes, you know.
Right.
And I'm so that's why like I'm go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, and I think that's one thing that they do on purpose. Like when I was in my cult, they were always compare and be like, oh, at least you're not Muslim, and like we don't make you dress this way, or at least you're not Mormon or this. Like, aren't you so glad we're not so controlling? So it's kind of like you're always being prepared, like prepped that it could be worse.
Exactly. It's like women, I was saying that before too, in a different conversation we were having today that like women we're not feminist anymore, or no, sorry, like we've already had feminism in the suffragette movement, and women vote now, and women can work outside the home, and so now there's no more sexism, or now there's
Yay.
no more racism because we outlawed slavery.
Like, why do we need to be doing all of this feminism stuff? We
Right,
already
and it's
solved
like,
all of the problems.
actually, just because it could be worse doesn't mean it can't be better.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. I think that is something that was a huge piece of deconstructing, is just like realizing it's okay to want more for your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's controversial, Evelyn.
Apparently quite controversial. My one true home, my only place of happiness is in heaven. I am only here to suffer. But yeah, it's what I would love to talk about. I don't know. I would love to kind of just like pick your brain, hear your thought process on like, I guess probably you were saying like you had a lot of friends who were super fascinated. That was kind of a piece of it for me too, is that like, oh, like people actually don't understand this. And also like for me, especially when I left Steubenville, like because I grew up in Texas where I went to public school, like but it's like still a really Christian area, and it's like there were people who weren't Christian, but the culture is just kind of generally that way, so no one's like confused about why Christians think what they think, or like what they think. And then to go from leaving Franciscan and move to LA, where they like think this is like extinct. They don't think this is actually real. Like they watch like Shiny Happy People and they're like, wow, crazy.
That one
little
family
group of 100 people. That's it. That's only 100 people who think that. So for me, I think that was a compelling piece of like wanting to start kind of trying to explain the behind the scenes, or like the psychology might not be the right term because it's not like we're psychology professionals, but like, yeah, just like explaining those thought processes. Is that kind of what got you into speaking about those pieces of it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we talked about how we have the similar content of just wanting people to understand. And I think a big piece of that was when Roe v. Wade was overturned. I remember just looking at my phone, and I was actually pro-life at the time. I became pro-choice the day Roe v. Wade overturned. So like unfortunate timing for me. But I saw it was overturned and my heart sank, and I was like, oh my God, they're doing it. Because I was told the whole time that we were going to overthrow Roe v. Wade. We were going to take over the government. We were going to, like, in our lifetime. And I just did not believe them. And then when they actually did it, I was like, whoa, okay. So they did that. And I know all the stuff they want to do. This is terrifying. And people don't understand that they have been planning this for 50 years. Like, since I was a kid, I've been told their plan. And so for that to happen, I was like, okay, the world needs to know about this, and that it's not a small facet. And even the IBLP, like, the IBLP is in pretty much every church. Like, there are IBLP members all around, and their books are in churches. And like, my dad has been friends with some of them. They were in our churches. My dad almost joined the IBLP, but he liked watching movies, so that was like the only reason not to.
That was the sticking point.
That's funny.
So
that saved you.
But then just seeing the Roe v. Wade thing happen, and then I was like, whoa, okay, people need to know. And then it was very frustrating, especially during the election last year, how I was hearing that all of these women were going to go against their husbands and vote differently than them just because of the pro-life, pro-choice issue. And I remember I had, like, I think it was the Washington Post or something, I had an interview with them the election morning, and she had so much hope in her voice, and she was like, can you talk about why women are going to vote against their husbands? And I was like, they're not. If they're conservative and in those spaces, they're not, because they're taught submission. They're taught that if they vote against their husband, they're basically going to go to hell unless it's a biblical thing, and voting isn't a biblical thing. So they're not going to vote against their husbands. They don't care about the pro-life, pro-choice. I feel like Democrats put way too much light on that, trying to get the conservatives over, and that's never going to work. And so it was just deflating knowing still how out of touch the normal secular world is with what's going on and what their processes is. So that's why I love to explain it in my TikToks. And like you said, we're only going to fix it and get rid of this like vitriol and hatred if we actually talk to each other. And I didn't want to just come into the Democrat side and now be like, Republicans, conservatives, religious people are evil. They're evil, because it's the same stuff I grew up with, and I didn't want to perpetuate that. And I'm like, no, you have to be able to come together. And once you understand, or not understand, but just hear the points, and that people aren't just crazy for the sake of it, it helps you to be able to solve the problem.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is something that's been so big for me recently. It's just that, I don't know, there's just so much tension right now, and it's like very deeply understandable tension. Like I'm not, I don't want to ever come across as if I think that it's like an overreaction of the tension
Mm-hmm.
and the
Mm-hmm.
emotions that are occurring right now. And then it's like a lot of people say things along the lines of like, well, like, why do I have to talk nicely to them about the problems they're causing? And it's like, trust me, I understand that it is
Mm-hmm.
frustrating. And it's not fair. Like, it's not
Mm-hmm.
fair that there's a group of individuals who want to have absolute power to enact their
Mm-hmm.
political
Mm-hmm.
mission over all of us. Like, I'm not saying it's like a lovely, great situation, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's just the messaging is already baked in a way that it's becoming like a self-fulfilling prophecy that
Mm-hmm.
the church has already told you you'll be hated for what you believe. And then
Mm-hmm.
the church is hurting people and people are hating it. And like, it is a cycle. Veronica and I were talking about this around like we both worked in the pro-life movement in college.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
and we did door knocking. And essentially it was just like I rolled up to college. I mean, I've been passionate about the issue, just like from the perspective I've heard of it within the church. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, obviously I understand the ways I was ignorant now, but
Yeah.
I was
This was an
passionate
open
about it.
check case. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I rolled up to campus freshman year. There's posters that are like, hey, you want to make $200 this weekend? Text this number. And you go knock on doors and tell people to vote for pro-life politicians. And obviously, well, also you're like kind of collecting data that they're selling. So
Wow.
Like voter demographic
voter demographic data.
data, like pre-poll survey type of stuff.
I can't say that I ever really
Wow.
clocked that at the time. But you are like knocking on people's doors and being like with a little like survey on your phone and being like, "Hi, are you pro-life?"
Yeah.
Oh my
Like,
God.
yes or no. And obviously, it's like the most heated political issue in America. So you're not getting great positive reactions from
I'm
people who don't
sure.
agree with your cause.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but that was crazy that the summer Evelyn had been doing that for a couple years, and then she kind of referred me to do it too. And that was the summer that Dobbs was overturned. We were lobbying for something
Mm-hmm.
in a state, and that was crazy because for the first time I was having conversations about abortion with people who were pro-choice or who were pro-life but against abortion legislation because they didn't
Mm-hmm.
trust legislators to make good laws. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, actually, same. I don't like abortion, but you're right. I also don't trust the lawmakers to make good laws that will protect us. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And how that was like very influential. And also how I feel like I was like very similar that I grew up as part of the pro life movement. I went to the March for Life every year, prayed outside abortion clinics, and didn't like this was always like some far away unattainable goal that we did,
Mm-hmm.
right? We
Mm-hmm.
weren't like doing very much. We were just doing like political action to like
try.
basically like
Yeah, it was like,
grow ends in our lifetime
yeah,
and stuff like
yeah.
that. Like they always
Mm-hmm.
had those kinds of slogans, and I just remember
Yep.
seeing that for the first time being like, really, that's like that could be very exciting, but that's like very ambitious. And so then by the
Mm-hmm.
end of college that it was overturned, I was like, oh, when did that happen? Like I thought this was like so far away.
Yeah.
And it
Mm-hmm.
also happened to be right at the time that like my needle was tipping a little bit for the
Yes.
first time, so I was
What
like not as
timing?
happy as about it as I thought it was gonna be. I was like, why
Mm-hmm.
do I have mixed feelings now?
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah,
was a
very
huge
weird
crack for
experience.
me.
Yeah.
So there were a few things I was gonna say. I was gonna say the people who are able to have respectful dialogue, kind of like what Veronica was saying. Like when you knock on someone's door and you're talking to them about one of the most controversial political issues of our age, and one of the
Mm-hmm.
most like emotionally entangled political issues of our age, and like obviously that brings up a lot of emotions. People are most frequently not responding positively to you,
Mm-hmm.
and that bakes it in that
Yeah.
that these people who like abortion are mean, hateful people. And
Mm-hmm.
like also then I think I had a similar thing go on where I was in Kansas, like on a weekend trip advocating for anti-abortion legislation when the Dobbs decision came out. And I like, we were in a, they like pulled us. I don't know how they knew, whatever.
Normally they know in advance, like,
what
the
decisions
date
are coming
that
out.
it's
Yeah.
expected.
They pulled us into this room to like watch the decision be announced on TV, and we like, everyone was like cheering and like crying and like, oh my God, like we did it. And it's like, yeah, like this is what we worked for. And I'm seeing on the TV, like the newsreel, like all of these like women like sobbing. And I think I'd just been taught for so long to just completely discredit those emotions, to just like be like, oh my God, you're being so dramatic. Like it's more important that people are dying, Kim. And I think I really started to see, not just in that moment, also in the conversations that I had that weekend, continuing to door knock, and also in the context of like stories of individuals that I was seeing on the news and in social media of like I feel so ignorant now, because obviously people were sitting here trying to say this to me the whole time, but that was when it clicked, and it's very unfortunate that is when it clicked, was after all of this. But yeah, people who were empathetically able to disagree moved the needle for me so much, and I never want to be the reason that someone feels more like that someone ingrains themselves more into the church out of fear of this like hateful, bitter outside world. So yeah.
And I remember for me too, I had a few people who were close to me that would just say a few things that I was like, wait, that's not quite right. But they, like, I loved them and they were important and they had this view. And so that made the most difference for me. Exactly. And so I think that's why it's so important to have those conversations if you can. Like, it totally depends on
not
how your
has
family
it.
is. Yeah. And like, especially if they're not accepting of like your sexuality, or if you don't feel safe, like that's totally different. But if you can, it's so great to be able to have conversations with the other side.
I mean, it's the same thing that they say about us, that they need to maintain a connection and relationship with us to bring us back to the church one day. We need to be that like little bit of an open door, a little bit of an open window. But, you know, so it kind of makes me feel weird. But
it
also
does make,
it's like, you're right, that's effective. And I do think it's important to like be there for people. Also, so that someone has somewhere to turn, like, you know, if they're in a similar place where they're like, I don't know why I'm feeling so weird about abortion for the first time, or about church for the first time. And like, you know, I just don't feel comfortable talking about it with certain other people. And I don't want to, you know, become a crazy liberal like you. But like, if I could just like talk this through, like, I feel like I've been able to have like good conversations by being open about like what I believe on the internet. People know that they can come to me no matter where it is that they're at with
I do think like there is a slight difference of that. Like, I just don't think there's one, like, I don't think there's one like headship over all of us that's like giving us these like authoritative rules that we have to like follow to be like perfect, regardless of how cruel it feels. Like, I think that's like that's what feels different about it to me, is that like in the church it was like I would feel empathy, but then you're kind of supposed to shut it down if it's making you question things, versus now I'm just like, no, like, take in the information, feel the emotions, and I'm pretty sure you'll get here with me. So yeah, I guess are there any like pieces of like Cade, who's doing our video for the context of everyone else who does not know that, he's sitting behind the monitor right there. Like, Cade always wraps up his videos with like a little like, oh, like, just so you know, like, if you leave the church, like, things will get better, and like la la la. So I don't know, like, if you had like some advice you wanted to give to someone who's in this place, or some like message, I don't know, if there's just like something that's like always like on your heart when you're having these kinds of oh my God, on your heart. My therapist, who's also ex-Christian, like, said that to me the other day, and then she was like, I'm so sorry. But if you have something that's like on your heart to like kind of like share, I don't know, just because this has been like a lovely conversation. I'm so glad to chat with you. I just want to make sure if there was anything you wanted to touch on, you get to throw it out there.
Yeah, you mean of just like talking to people who are going through deconstruction and and that one? Yeah, I get that question a lot, and it's so hard because I think everyone's journey is so different. But just like be prepared for it to be messy, and give yourself time. Like, you don't have to figure it out all at once. And I think I rushed myself and it did not lead to good things. So like, give yourself time. And if you're struggling with one issue, like research it as much as you want or don't, or just be like, hey, I'm going to sit on this for a while. That's okay. Like there's no time limit that you need to finish. Try not to be scared, which is easy to say, but it's like, you'll get where you need to go and just trust yourself and what you know, and you'll get where you'll need to go. And it doesn't, the other thing of deconstructing that I believe is it doesn't automatically mean that you're going to lose all your spirituality and religion. Because that is still really important to some people. And I'm still a spiritual person. I don't like the label Christian because of everything that comes with it, but I still, but I'm still like a spiritual person and would be more Christian, I guess, label, but very progressive in everything. And like, you don't have to lose everything if you don't want to. Just give yourself time. Go through the motions, go through the journey. You can still have whatever you want to have at the end of it, but just be open and try to find someone to talk about things too. Like I feel you guys talked about it of always needing a deconstruction buddy, and I had that and it was very helpful because it's nice to be able to trauma dump with someone else who's going through the same things.
100%.
So, those would be my main advice.
I love that advice because I also sort of like tried to live by that when I started deconstructing, of like slow and steady and keeping it personal. It felt like something deeply personal and private and something I didn't want other people to be swaying me for. I felt like I already know what the Christians in my life are going to say, and I feel like I've been avoiding these questions, these niggling doubts for so long and completely ignoring them, and I need to like observe them, but then like sometimes there can be a lot of pressure to open up with certain people in your life, or there's always talk about accountability when you're in like a church setting, and sharing your heart with people. And I'm really grateful that I did take the time to try to, you know, I wanted to have some sort of answer that I could tell people. Be like, I don't really think I believe in God anymore. I don't really think I believe in the church anymore. And have some sort of answer. Eventually I came more at peace with not necessarily having an answer. Well, if it's not Catholicism, what is it? I just got to be more comfortable with that, and I'm really glad that's what I did. You
don't need to rush into it. You don't need to
exactly.
And I mean, like, your brain's not going to probably kind of really let you either. I think that like psychologically there's only so much all of us can handle at a time, and like that's okay. And like just take it at your pace. Like if you I can't even tell you how many times Veronica and I've been like working on like researching something and we're just like slam laptop shut. That's enough for right now. That's more information than I needed today. So just take it at your own pace.
The last thing is people don't realize with deconstructing and religion, like it affects every single facet of your life. Like it affects your political life. It affects my knowledge on history and like global world events I'll need to research. It affected my knowledge on science, how you live your life, finances, everything. And people just don't realize that when you do deconstruct from high control religion, it forces you to do everything. So that's why it's good to take it slow.
That was the thing too. Like I think you mentioned you started this kind of in 2020, and by 2023 you were fully out of the church. Like it does take a long time because more and more things keep coming up, you know.
They do, and they will for the rest of my life, most likely.
Because it starts off as just like, oh, one church teaching or one thing I'm supposed to do as a Christian that I don't want to do anymore, and then it becomes because of my religious like educational background, there's all this stuff I don't know, or like misconceptions that I got through a particular lens, and now I feel like the need to reread about every single other
everything
group
that's ever happened
from somebody else's perspective that isn't a Catholic or a Christian like perspective, because I was homeschooled growing up and had like a lot of Christian textbooks and then Catholic college, you know, religious. So
Did you have the Becca textbooks?
Everybody always asks me this.
So
I actually
funny.
didn't have any Abeka textbooks. I did Saxon math. And I did use LifePack Geography, which I only found out more recently is like very fundy publication. But yeah, I was like,
what was your biology one again? That was crazy.
Apologia. We did an episode on one of my science textbooks, which was like a creationist, 6,000-year-old world. Talked a lot about geology and how evolution is stupid and there's no fossil record and stuff. I loved that textbook, and now I'm like, oh, I don't know if I know anything about science actually.
My whole science books were just like, this is why evolution isn't true, and that's all they talked about. So
right. Yeah.
Have you read Educated?
Yes, I loved Educate. That's another one I read kind of
so
at the
good.
start of the journey.
Yeah.
And even though she was Mormon, I was like, this is too close, and I relate to like all of this, even the holistic side of it too. I was like,
Yes.
this is just too close.
Yeah, I find that so scary about deconstruction. We talk about this a lot, that this played a big piece into us like starting to question the Catholic Church, especially its like end all be all authority in the way that it presents itself as, because of like the way that people in the Mormon Church talk about how they view the Mormon Church, which is pretty far enough removed from like mainstream Christianity that it felt weird to have them say like
The
one
same
true
things.
church, our heavenly
Yeah.
Father and his plan for our lives, like the kind of language
plan of
people use,
salvation.
right? It was like, oh, but I believe that. I believe I have the fullness of truth,
Yeah.
and that I'm the one true religion, that God, we are his chosen people, and if we live according to the way he's taught us how to live by our prophets, like that. Yeah, that was like very influential. So I love, and I'm so glad for all the voices that are out there in the deconstruction world. Whether, you know, like you had the evangelical Presbyterian background, whether it's like mainstream evangelical Baptists or Mormons or Catholics, sort of like there's so much overlap, especially when it comes to then like rebuilding your life and untangling what you believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I love. I'm really grateful for the little community out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Evelyn, I think you were actually like the second person I followed on TikTok, which is
that's so
crazy when
funny.
I first got it. And I was just like Googling like deconstructed people, because that's what I was interested in. And yeah,
Wow.
crazy.
When did you get on TikTok?
I think it
Was it 2023? Like you just were on it at all before?
Yes.
Or okay.
Yeah, it was 2023. Yeah, I was on it before I like started posting and stuff.
Like your own channel. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so I definitely talked like it's like the complete opposite of your approach, where you kind of figured it out first. I had already been doing Catholic influencer content, and then people were like, why did she drop off the face of the earth? And then one day
you were doing all like lifestyle study abroad.
Yeah, I was trying to be like, oh, look at my cute little study abroad semester. And they're like, are you still Catholic? What happened to the Catholic content? And I'm like, la, la, la. And then eventually, like, I was just like, okay, this is me in real time processing all of this. Yeah. Definitely recommend your approach over.
Yeah, I definitely recommend
talking through it in real time.
As somebody who like watched Evelyn do it more publicly, and I just sat in the background like thinking all the same things but not sharing it till I like felt more settled. Yeah. It's okay to do either, you know, whatever works for whatever you're at in life, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I literally am so obsessed with this conversation and this connection, and I'm so excited to share this with our podcast audience.
Yeah, you're so cool. I'm so glad I got to chat with you, and I will be binging all the rest of your TikToks later. I hope you know.
So. No, thank you guys. It was so nice meeting you, Veronica, and like seeing you in person. Well, not in person, but closer. But yeah, it was great seeing you and speaking to you guys. And yeah, I loved this. It was so fun.
Incredible. Where can people find more of you?
Yes. Plug yourself.
So pretty much just TikTok, Canceled Christian. That's where I do all of my things. And I was going to say like I might be branching off from this stuff, but I don't want to say that yet because work is busy.
Because you don't know.
Cut that out, Kate.
Valid. Yes. It's a lot.
That's where
all right. Incredible.
All right.
And she'll also be linked in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll link it down below. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Leave, Laugh, Love podcast. We love having Cherie of the Canceled Christian on the show today. It was so much fun chatting with her. Can't wait to go binge the rest of her TikToks tonight. And so fun. You can find more of our podcast on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Follow us at Leave, Laugh, Love Pod on Instagram and TikTok to stay up to date. Again, check out our new YouTube channel. Give us a subscribe, a like, a comment, help us get the word out there so we can keep having these types of conversations with other deconstructing Christians.
Love it.
How much value does this podcast add to your life? $1 a month? $2 a month? Sorry.
Maybe buy us an eighth of a coffee.
Yeah,
We'd love it.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And
Don't-
until next week, feel free to subscribe over at Patreon to support our podcast.
Yeah, so we can keep flying out.
So we can
to
keep coming
studio
here, doing all the things,
and record in person.
And until next week, keep living, laughing, and loving.
Bye.
Bye.